we're in South Louisiana. Anyone who's got allergies, take this.
NAD is probably the biggest thing coming out right now on anti-aging. Normally, like when we're tight in here and you start getting that pressure and you're taking those joints and muscles through full range, this one feels almost addicting.
So consistency over intensity. And then we're just going to roll up and down. It seems crazy, but when you go get massages and they're finding tightness in here, the first thing you need to do is start releasing this stuff. Kelly, thank you. You did the exercises last week and it helped a lot. Good morning, friends. Good morning. I hope everybody is doing really well this morning. Thank you for joining us on another Tea with Dr. D. Man, it's good to be with y'all. I feel like it's been a while. I guess with our little on location last week, I felt like that was kind of a little different environment. So good morning. I hope you're doing great. Share the show, reach out to us. If you have any questions, please let me know. I would love to hear what y'all are dealing with right now, what health questions you have, any of that kind of stuff. I'm here to answer it, and would love to hear what y'all are doing, what y'all are dealing with. This morning we're breaking out the big guns. I'm drinking yerba mate this morning. That's my Argentine tea secret that is tremendous with helping with like focus and that really task-oriented focus. When you start drinking yerba mate, you can sit down and read or write or do very kind of redundant tasks with an insane amount of focus. Whenever I was teaching the dry needling stuff down in Argentina, I started drinking a lot of this stuff, and I would realize when I was doing research or writing that I could sit there for 4 or 5 hours and be very, very focused. And I thought it was just the environment. And then a friend of mine was like, yeah, yerba mate is really good for focus. So I'm trying to break out the big guns for y'all this morning. So look, hey, please say hi. Please let me know that you're here. Drop us a line if you have any questions. If you want to talk about anything, let me know. That's what I'm here for. So I hope y'all are doing well. I know we've had kind of a little bit of a shift backwards in terms of dealing with COVID, and I've had a lot of patients, a lot of friends reach out that are talking about the effects of this and dealing with it. So I really hope all of y'all are staying safe. I hope everybody is being as healthy as you can. Now more than ever, a lot of the things we've talked about on here, like, taking the supplements, make sure your vitamin D's up. If you go out around people taking vitamin C in that instantaneous moment, make sure that you're doing some astragalus in there. Make sure you have some low zinc lozenges or any of that kind of stuff. Right now is really important to take care of your health, take care of your immune system. Good morning, Billy. Good morning, Jody. I hope y'all are doing really well this morning. Let me know if I can help y'all with anything. So that's the big thing that I'm hearing from a lot of people is, with this little shift backwards, is there anything different that we need to do? And all the stuff we've been talking about on here for the last few months, it really comes to fruition right now. Those things are really important to be doing that right now. So if y'all have questions about any of those things, let us know. If you want, we put together that Perfect Immune Day program, and we have some handouts on that. So if you want that, reach out to us, let us know, and we'll send that over to you. It's set up really nicely in a way like what to do in the morning, what to do, midday, what to do early afternoon, what to do in the evening. So they did a really good job of putting that together, so you can just kind of follow it as you need to. So if you have specific questions that y'all want us to cover or research or look into, send us a text message to our text platform, which you can see at the bottom. I'm getting better with this, 801-691-7582. I almost remember that offhand. So, when we're dealing with a lot of the these questions, it's really nice for us to be able to kind of research. And I know a lot of y'all have reached out on the text platform and said, hey, what do you think about this supplement? What do you think about, this exercise equipment? And we've been able to answer those questions. So that's been really fun for us to see the interaction that we've gotten there. So if y'all do have questions, if you do have questions about supplements, we're getting a lot of that stuff right now. We've tried to research it and make sure that we can get you access to the best stuff. And so like here for our patients at Acadiana Pain, we've tried to make sure that like we can get you vitamin D. That's a really good quality. That we can get glutathione. That's a really good quality. That we can get you the supplements that we're talking about here that we've researched that we really believe can help. And that's a really good thing, because I do think it's kind of hard. What do we get? What type, what brand? Do I trust this brand? And so we've tried to put that together for you. If you have any questions about the supplements we carry or the supplements that you're taking, that you're getting from Amazon or wherever we're getting our supplements, then let us know. We're more than happy to kind of dive into that and check these supplements out. I always want companies that do third-party testing, that send their supplements to another company to get them checked out and actually look at them and say, are what we saying is in our supplements in there? Is that the exact stuff? Is there any extra things from the factories that are making these things in there? So when I'm recommending supplement companies, that's the stuff that I look for. Are they sourcing them from a very quality source? Are they getting them tested to make sure there's nothing extra in there and there's the right amounts? That's a big problem in the supplement industry. So good morning, Dawn. Thanks for the tag. Please, if y'all have friends that need to hear this stuff, please tag them in here. I know I get the question a lot. How do I get my husband in here? How do I get my friend in here? If you're tired of being the one that's griping at them and telling them, shoot them a link to the show. Let me do the one that fuss at them for not taking those little extra steps to get healthier. But if y'all know people that need to hear some of this stuff, let us know. So hopefully we can get y'all some really good information that is very pertinent to right now. I know a lot of people are kind of shifting back and forth. I've had a bunch of you come in and say that the COVID baby boom is in full force. So I was about a month ago talking to a friend of mine, and we were saying like two things are going to happen. We're going to have a skyrocket in pregnancies and a skyrocket in divorce rates. Everybody's sitting at home with nothing else to do. So that seems to be coming true, at least the baby part from what we're talking about. That would be great. Hopefully that's the only thing that comes out of it. But all right, let's dive into a few questions. If y'all have questions, please let me know. I'm here for you. I'll answer whatever I can for you. So let's see, what type of mask do we recommend? Is there anything we can do to make this better? I'm glad y'all asked this, because I've had a lot of patients come in that are wearing their mask during their treatment session, and I get it. That's uncomfortable, and that's it's not fun for us to be going out into public and wearing these things. For all you healthcare professionals that have been wearing this for 4 months and you're getting home and you're exhausted and you're telling your spouse, like, see, this is what I've been dealing with for the last few months. The thing that I'll say, I see a lot of people doing like the bandanas. I see a lot of people doing these like, little like hunting masks and stuff. I know we have a lot of that around here. Those things aren't designed to actually protect you very much. Those things are very, very permeable to air. And so I know they're beneficial, probably a little bit more than nothing, but not much more. And so I really would go out and get you, even those cheaper surgical masks are going to do a much better job of that. The true N95 masks, I was having this discussion with a patient. Those are designed to actually block the particles from getting in. And they're really designed for those like healthcare practitioners that are treating a COVID patient or treating a patient with any kind of infectious disease. But so they want to wear that knowing they're coming in contact with those particles. Like they're in the room, they know the patient in there has whatever that is, in this case, COVID-19. those N95 masks are designed for that situation where we're pretty sure we're going to come in contact with those particles. We want to be sure that we're blocking those out. That's why they're so much more effective, but also so much more uncomfortable. Going around town and wearing one of those N95 masks when you're going above and beyond for sure. And if you really, really want to be safe when you go in and out of stores, I think that's a good thing. But I think if you're wearing something for an extended period of time, getting one of those decent surgical masks is going to do a good job of protecting you. And we were talking about this. There's a lot of people that are getting out and they're mask policing. They're paying attention to all the people in the stores. Like, why don't they have their mask? Why don't they have their mask? And that's creating this negative internal belief and this negative environment inside. And like, look, right now more than ever, we need to stay positive. We need to take care of ourselves. Look, take the supplements, do everything you can to keep your immune system healthy. Wear the mask whenever you're going out. You're not going to be able to control what everyone else is doing. But if we can really ramp our own protection up, you're going to get through this a lot healthier. Even if you do get unlucky and contract COVID, we know that the people that are doing these extra things are coming out so much better. If you're taking your vitamin D, if you're sleeping well, if you're taking vitamin C when you're going out, if you're doing a couple of these other extras, taking astragalus, taking zinc, all of those things pay off. They really, really do right now. The research is showing that those things are having a massive impact on people who get it. So I can't recommend that more than I'm saying it now. It really needs to be part of your daily routine right now. So, and look, there's enough negativity going on out there. Let's be positive, pick people up. We don't know what everyone else is dealing with, but we know that we need more positivity in the world right now. I see that every day. I'm having patients come in, and I know everybody's dealing with stress on a different level right now. And that stuff has a lot bigger effect on us physically and our immune system more than we realize. The other thing I want to say about the masks is one of my patients was telling me about a little engineering study they kind of did where they were checking for CO2, and they had little sensors that they were putting in and out of the masks, and the CO2 content in the mask was much, much higher. So they were breathing that CO2 in. And a lot of people don't realize this, but if you're breathing in CO2, if you're breathing in carbon dioxide, that gives your body the effect of hyperventilating. Like, your body almost thinks that you're hyperventilating because your CO2 levels in your blood is rising. That basically puts you in this fight or flight response. So our body thinks that if you're hyperventilating, we must be going through a stress response. You must be getting attacked or something's trying to kill you, or otherwise, why would you be hyperventilating? And so that changes our physiology on a hormone level for sure. We know that when CO2 levels rise, that we turn on that fight or flight response, and that sympathetic nervous system starts to really get engaged. So if we're wearing masks all day, we need to have some breaks in there where you're going through and trying to bring that nervous system back down, get some good oxygen in, and relax that sympathetic nervous system. The best way I know to do that is a breathing technique called 4-7-8. And basically what that is where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold that breath in for 7 seconds, and then you slowly let the air out for 8 seconds. And so it's a very easy thing. You do 4 seconds in, hold for 7, 8 seconds out. You do 4 of those in a row. And if you can do this laying down, like what we tell a lot of people who deal with this stuff, lay down, prop your legs up on something, have the palms up, do your 4-4-7-8 breaths. So if you are wearing a mask all day and you're getting that where you feel really tired at the end of the day, or your energy seems to be changing, or your stress levels are changing over this, and it has more to do with like what you feel during the day, do some 4-7-8 breaths. It's a very easy thing. You don't have to do it like that. You can do it while you're driving to and from work, but it really does help to try and get the oxygen in, kind of slow the breath down, bring that sympathetic nervous system back down into hopefully some balance in there. So right now, that's a really good thing to be doing while we're wearing that, and we're, you know, kind of getting those CO2 levels. Our oxygen levels are probably not as high. Dr. J was telling me here that, you know, he was wearing a pulse oximeter, and it was really tough to get that oxygen saturation above 95% with the mask on. So I think those effects are in there. We need to be safe, but let's combat those. Let's make sure that we are, you know, paying attention to those secondary effects that these things can cause. So hopefully that helps. If y'all have further questions about any of that stuff, let us know. We can kind of direct you to some resources that we're using. So hopefully that's some good information for you. What else we got? What questions y'all got? Good morning, Kevin. Hope you're doing well, man. I hope y'all are hanging in there. The family's doing awesome. Christy, good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. You are 100% correct. You can only focus on what you can control. So, you know, I'm a big fan of the first, like, kind of Jim Rohn, the first, I guess, coach, if you want to call him that, the precursor to Tony Robbins. Always like, don't wish it was easier or wish you were better. Like, focus on this and most other things are going to get better. So help with blood tests. This is a really good time for this. I talk a lot about getting tested and using those test results to guide your health decision. So what I'm going to do today is kind of take y'all through my micronutrient portion. So full disclosure, I'm gonna let you see everything that we tested. I'm a big fan of the SpectraCell test and what that tells us. So I'm gonna show y'all what that looks like, and we'll dive into some of this. I'm weird. Whenever something pops up on my blood test, I kind of get excited. Like when I've got something that's off in there, I want to dive into why it's off and exactly what has changed in my previous 6 to 12 months that may have caused that result to change. So, you know, whatever that deficiency or change might have been. So let's see. Let me see if I can do this actually. Hey, there we go. Let me know if y'all can see that. Give me like a thumbs up or something like that. I'm not sure if I think I'm doing that right. Okay. So no comments. Come on. I'm not going to show y'all unless y'all tell me you can see it. So hopefully we can get into some of this and answer some questions about some of that. Doing these tests. So I recommend at least once a year doing a micronutrient test, and the results from this can really be used to make some very good decisions. You really can get in there and find out what exactly you're dealing with and what blood levels you have. And once you've done some of this stuff and you can start to go into, okay, how do I get myself healthier? How do I actually make some dietary changes, make some supplement changes, some activity changes that really, really can guide your health. And I think this is the basis of a lot of the anti-aging stuff. A lot of the things that you could do to keep yourself healthy for longer is getting really good tests done in there and really diving in and finding out what's in your body and how to improve that before we start adding a bunch of extra stuff in there. So when you finish your test, this is what you get. This is the results page that they send us or your provider or directly to you. And so when we're looking at this, what happens is they send you kind of a breakdown, and at the very beginning, they give you this results at a glance. So if you're just trying to find out what to do, like, hey, I don't want to know why, I want to know all of this, this very first section is going to give you just the content that you want. Start taking this. A lot of times I'll do it in a supplement. And so what you can see for me is I've got an abnormal vitamin B2. So take 20 milligrams of riboflavin is their recommendation based on the tests. And I'll get into that in a second. There's a secondary thing that we would want to look at with that. So if we keep rolling down in here, this will get some provider comments if you have anybody like reading this. And so some of these borderline ones, are really where we would want to take a look at from kind of the future testing standpoint. So a lot of this stuff is very interesting because these are the downstream effects of a lot of times what your deficiency is. And so this is stuff that I would actually want to pay attention to and make sure that you're doing things to elevate these. So this is a part where a lot of people scan past these borderline things. But if you're doing this for health and aging, you want those borderline effects to be perfect. Like, we want all of these tests to guide us in how do we optimize our health? How do we really get to the point where our health is pristine? And I don't want to be in the mid-range for a lot of these things. I want to be as perfect as I can get. So that's where a lot of this stuff comes in. Anything borderline, pay attention to that stuff. Those are really, really helpful. And then this is something that I really like that they do. And that is where they're breaking down and telling you what is your like total antioxidant function, which is going to be a very, very big part of staying healthy and aging. They show you your total immune function. So, checking all of your stuff right now. This is what we're talking about. Do we have a good, strong immune system? And if you're getting down into the average here, we want to do some stuff to climb up. So I take antioxidants. I take glutathione every day. After this test, I'm ramping that up. I'm right on that border. I don't like to be in the average. So, and then if you look at the immune function, we're just elevated. I think some of that, the vitamin B stuff is why both of these are a little bit lower than I would like to see them. So this is really good information when you start diving into this. And then we can kind of get down into your very specific. So this is a really good way that they do this. Mine is very strange in that normally your B vitamins will all drop together. I have a very isolated riboflavin deficiency. I'm digging into why that is and what's happening to bring that into effect. But and one of the things I'd like to do is get a friend of mine on here who talks about like what things can be the downstream effects that would lead to this, and kind of show y'all some of that, because it's really helpful to see what things you're doing in your life might bring some of these changes. So another way of doing this, I could take a riboflavin supplement and get this up. And I probably will, just because of where it's at, go ahead and add that. Another thing that I'll start doing is adding in some sardines. Sardines will bring up all of these B vitamins. And that's really, really helpful there. B5 here, that was a borderline one. That's a precursor to acetyl coenzyme A, and that's really, really important for a lot of the functions in the immune system in the body. So that's something I want to pay attention to. I don't like that being borderline, but for the most part, when I'm looking at this, it's B vitamins. I need to get those in a better place. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to take this. More interesting to me is, how do I get these elevated, and what has changed? This is not, I've never had an issue here. So what has changed in my last year or so, my last 6 months, that has dropped this? So that's something that I'm digging into. I'm really interested. As I said before, that I get kind of excited whenever one of these things changes, because then I can kind of dive into it and figure out where that's coming from and share that with y'all, and kind of use that as teaching moments. So you can go through all of this stuff right now. We want to make sure that all of these that you got, zinc levels are in a good position. Copper, magnesium levels are in a really good position. So this gives you some really good information. As I was saying earlier, I take glutathione every day. I was borderline with that. For somebody who's paid attention to glutathione, I don't like that at all, that it is not in a really good position. I think that may have something to do with the B vitamins, like I was saying earlier, that those are low, and that can then lead to some other issues of your body kind of holding on to some of the antioxidants. So I'm gonna correct the B vitamins, and I'm gonna dose up a bit on glutathione. And that's what's so nice about doing these tests, is that I'm not feeling any effects. I feel great. Like this is, I'm functioning great. I'm not having any physical, mental effects of this, but I don't want to either. I don't want the downstream effects to get to the point where I am having issues and then I'm trying to dive in and now I've got deficiencies up and down the board. And now it's really hard for me to correct these things. And that's why I tell people do this stuff regularly, because if you're doing it before you get symptoms, that's when you can really make these changes and keep functioning at a very high level. It's the same thing with like checking motion, checking sensitivity, stretching, rolling out. If you can start catching issues in the body before it becomes symptomatic, before your neck tightens up so much that it hurts, it just feels a little stiff, we can correct that before it becomes a major issue, before that compression starts to wear those joints away and starts to really irritate the joints. And now you're, on the path of inflammation and joint dysfunction and, eventually arthritis. If we're doing these checks regularly, that's how we continue going through this life and this aging process, very, very healthy, feeling good. And this is no different, using these results to say, hey, I'm staying ahead of this. And when I see something, not a big deal, I'm going to correct it before it becomes, a symptom that has really caused me problems. So that's really nice to find these little borderline areas and say, okay, I've taken CoQ10 back in, 5-6 years ago. I might want to add that back in along with my glutathione. Vitamin C, same thing. I think that's getting used a lot. Vitamin C is a very short acting thing in the body. So your vitamin C levels can fluctuate even throughout a day. And so, this is something that, like what was happening the week before this test, vitamin C is something that I'm going to start throwing back in every day again. I was kind of doing it when I was going out around people, taking some of that. So this is something that says, hey, that probably just needs to be part of my morning routine right now, especially with everything that's going on. I really want my vitamin C levels to be high. So then you get down into this, just kind of showing you the same thing, just on a graph result. So this is kind of a repetition of some of those previous ones, just in a little easier way of seeing it. In the white circles mean you're good. Of course, red means, hey, pay attention here. So this is what this stuff would look like whenever we get this. And whenever we get this for a patient, what we want to look for is, what are the things that are affecting your body's ability to stay healthy or to heal? There's another test that we can go through that goes through like your inflammatory levels. That's really important. And then I have another one that's all like the lipoprotein particle sizes, which has a lot more to do certainly with like cardiovascular heart disease and paying attention to that in our patients who have those issues. That's what we really want to dive into and make sure that those things are paying attention. Inflammation and your lipoprotein are really important to make decisions about your health, about your diet, about your activities. So a lot of times we'll run those two together. And so this kind of gives you your carbohydrate metabolism. So are you very sensitive to sugars? So for those of you who are, that changes things. Like, you may not be able to get away with adding that little bit of sugar in your coffee every morning. That's going to cause a bigger response in your body. The glucose insulin interaction in patients or people who have had issues in the past. A lot of this is like, if we've had kind of some yo-yo dieting, if we've had issues with weight loss, if we've had issues that may have affected our body's ability to produce and be sensitive to insulin. A lot of this glucose insulin interaction will tell us that. And in those instances, that may be somebody that we say, look, hold sugars. That means hold fruit even. So you're someone who, if we're in a dieting phase, we're going to say pull back on a lot of fruit, because we need to keep your insulin levels very even. And we need to make sure that you're not getting those spikes. And even eating fruit in somebody like that is going to cause that insulin spike. And then the stuff you're eating for the rest of the day is just getting thrown into storage. So this can really be helpful if we're trying to get back to that healthy weight. And I think that's a big part when people are trying to get healthy, is taking the steps to get to a healthy weight. A lot of those actions that you do to do that affect you in so many other areas of your health. So, Christy, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that you're scheduled for it. When you get it, let us know. We can kind of dive into that a little bit. So this is what that looks like, and it does go over, kind of what they're doing at the end, and it talks a little bit about the testing and gives you some really good information, actually, like what things affect your body's energy production. So this is really neat to see where they put it in the pathway. I love this because, one, I geek out on these things, but two, it does give you a very clear picture of, when your body is trying to take food and turn it into energy, and really good energy, whether that be physically, mentally, any of that stuff. You have a good picture of, like, for me, right here, when carbohydrates are supposed to be getting broken down into acetyl-CoA, I've got some issues right there. So if I'm eating carbohydrates and my body's having trouble turning those into energy, that could be a problem. That could be a problem that then gets shunted into storage, or then gets shunted into this excess inflammatory response. That can lead to some issues again down the road. So now I see that's a really, really easy thing for me to fix over the next 6 months. And then we can track that and see, hey, how good of a job did I do? And so that's really nice. Certainly, if you geek out on some of these things and you really want to know if you're low in something, how is it going to affect your body? That's where these results can come into play and really do a good job of explaining, my bottom line energy production, cellular energy for our patients. We're worried about that from a healing standpoint. Like, if your body can't produce ATP well, look, that's why we're doing the, infrared therapy. That's why we're doing the pulsed EMF therapy, so that we're getting that optimal energy production from cells so that they can repair themselves. If we're not getting that, it's really tough to heal. And when we're talking about pain, that's a big problem. For energy, same thing. If we're trying to repair cells and not have damaged cells as we go through the aging process, having good cellular energy is a big part of that. And if we're not getting that, that's going to affect the aging process and kind of speed that up a little bit. So this is a really neat way that they do this. And then they dive into kind of the methylation cycle. And same thing, this gives you kind of a really good depiction of how is your body going to detox. We know that when we've got damage in the body, we know that breathing oxygen, when your body breaks down oxygen, it creates exhaust. Basically, when you breathe in oxygen and it breaks that oxygen down, it's like your car using gasoline to go. That creates an exhaust in the body that needs to get cleared out. If we're not clearing that exhaust out and that continues to grow in there, that's the things that end up leading to problems, but also speeds the aging process significantly. So that's why, for me, getting my glutathione levels, your body's master antioxidant, up to a really good optimal level. That's why that's important. This is a really neat graph that kind of shows you how that process is affected by whatever areas you have in your body that are borderline or deficient. How is that process happening? So they do a really wonderful job of educating you after, and we can sit down and go through these results with people and explain what does that mean for you personally, from a diet standpoint, from a supplement standpoint. I always want to attack these things from two levels. I want to attack this from a dietary standpoint. So for me, it's like adding in that food that will correct my B2. So, sardines, that's easy. I can grab that as a snack. I love Wild Planet sardines, by the way. The one that they keep in olive oil is very tasty. Got like a little salty treat there. And so, that's something that I'll add in. And if it is actually deficient and not borderline, I'll go ahead and take the supplement. If I'm borderline on a couple of these things, what I would do if I was you, we're gonna put together a list of foods that correct some of those things if we can. If we can do it naturally, I want to do it naturally. If not, then what are some supplements that I can add in to get those borderline levels up to an optimal level? And when you do these things, sometimes I get patients who say, like, I didn't know how slow I was functioning or how low my energy was or how poor my sleep was until I fixed it. And then I realized, man, now I feel good. I didn't know what I was missing. And when we go through these things and we correct them, a lot of that happens with this stuff. So that's what this looks like. I hope that gives y'all some information. I know that's a lot of getting into some very specifics, but this is really important stuff whenever it comes to health. So if you can really do some things that will clear up your deficiencies, it's so helpful for healing, for energy, for vitality. And I think this is a big part of the aging process. This is another thing I forgot to mention. I love that they do this. When you have something that's actually deficient, it'll tell you some symptoms. So for me, if I was having something, depression, dizziness, any burning or mouth issues, a lot of people will get kind of itchy or dry eyes or any of that kind of stuff. So if you notice one of these deficiencies and you're like, hey, actually, I do have those symptoms, didn't realize it was from something, that gives you a kind of a little more kick to get these things back into balance. And then it gives you some food sources. So which one of these can you add in easily? Like for me, almonds, like I was saying, I'm going to do some sardines there just to get them all up, eggs. And now that I think about it, I kind of went away from doing like eggs for breakfast consistently. So that might have something to do with this. Possibly. I'm going to dig into that. We're going to come back to that here in the future. But do you have any questions about all of this stuff? Let's see what we got. I popped on late. What is the cost of the testing? So SpectraCell testing can be paid for partially by insurance. And I think if your insurance pays for it, it pays for about half of it. I think that comes out to on the person costing about $250 and the insurance pays about $250. This is kind of dependent on your insurance. So give or take around that range for the whole suite of testing of doing the micronutrient test and the folate metabolism test and the lipoprotein particle size test. I think if somebody's just paying cash for that, that's I think $690 or so for all of that. I think the regular testing, this micronutrient test, is really, really important. And if people are doing like the whole suite maybe once a year and then just adding in, a second micronutrient test 6 months later, then that gets this into a really cost-efficient range, because the downstream effects of this are expensive. Like if you get to where these deficiencies are leading to health issues, now we've got some problems, not to mention like difficulty with energy. But so based on the insurance, a lot of times insurance will pick this stuff up and insurance will help us with it. And that's really nice. So then a lot of times for like consultation after, what we're looking at is kind of having like a full scheduled patient evaluation. Same thing is that if that's involved in patient care, then that can be an insurance thing. If that's involved in somebody who's just paying cash for it, then usually that one's $125 to $150, depending on what we're looking at. So, but this is some wonderful information. And I think even for the layperson, if we do the micronutrient test and we have at least like one sit down and explain these things with people, there's a lot of action that SpectraCell gives you. There's a lot of stuff that they can explain for those follow-up things of what do I do? That second test, a lot of times it's just having a conversation with somebody and kind of telling them, yeah, it looks like for me, my B2 levels are back up. Keep doing what you're doing for another 6-month cycle. Normally, that's another point that I'd like to mention. When I get something that's a deficiency, I want to try and fix it and see at that next blood test if it's better. If it is, I keep doing what I'm doing for one more cycle, for one more 6-month cycle. And then normally at that point, if it's still better, then I'll kind of pull back. And that gives a lot of people, when we're talking about like, what vitamins do I need to take? Am I wasting money on a multivitamin? This is how we decide that. And I've had a lot of people that we go through and do this and find out that their multivitamin is not serving them any purpose. And so for them, the money saved with isolating and fixing certain things here and not taking things that they don't need to take pays for the test itself. So that's how we want to use this. We don't really want to just be taking a bunch of vitamins that we don't know if we need or not. And, this gives us some direction to say, like, what do I need to take? What areas am I in a really good level that it doesn't do me a lot of good to be taking? A few years ago, I had a selenium deficiency. I haven't taken selenium in probably 4 years, and my selenium is still in a perfect level here. So, if I had kept taking selenium all along, not that it's an expensive supplement, it's fairly easy, and grab you some Brazil nuts and you've got it fixed. But being able to knock that out and move that now into like a vitamin B supplement makes my health better. And certainly that's a more efficient thing, financially, which, shouldn't completely be overlooked. And so hopefully that answers it. It does kind of depend a little bit on your insurance if we're using insurance, but I think that truly with what you get health-wise over the years of doing this, the cost is really, really effective. I think it's a really great place for us to be putting money if we care about kind of keeping our health up and improving our health. So hopefully that wasn't too much for you. I didn't lose too many of y'all diving into some of the science behind this, but it's okay. If we did lose a couple of you, come back and rewatch this. This stuff is really important, and I wanted to spend some time on that and explain what we're looking at and why we recommend this test so much. So hopefully that's some good stuff. I think we got time for like maybe one more question, and let's see. Am I reading any good health books lately? I'm always reading like 4 or 5 books, and one of them is always a health book. I do have a book that I don't know if it's necessarily in the thank you, Christy. I'm glad you're still here. I do have a book that's not necessarily in the health realm, but it is a very good book. If you have not seen this, I don't know if that shows up for y'all as regular. Limitless. This is a really, really neat book. Jim Kwik is a guy who does a lot with memory. And so he dives into a bunch of memory techniques and brain health techniques, and dives into a lot of kind of mind belief information about our beliefs about memory. One of the things that he talks about is that they are noticing when people say, I don't remember names very well, like we're putting that in our brain. We're saying like, I don't remember names very well. And that belief starts to become a major issue if we're trying to change that. So what he says he does at conferences is he gets people to yell out 100 different items, just random things, paperclip, blah, blah, blah. And then later on, an hour later, he'll put them back out in the order that people mentioned them. And then he'll go backwards even. And he says he does that not to show off, but to show people like part of our limitations when it comes to memory and brain function is our self-limited beliefs about it. So he wants to open that up and open you to the possibility that a lot more is possible than what you're putting in your brain. You're putting these limitations on what you think can happen, and that's affecting really your ability to do it. And so he goes through a lot of memorization techniques, a lot of reading techniques. So this has been a really neat book. I recommend it to a lot of you. He goes through some speed reading techniques in there that are really, really helpful. One of the things that I find difficult is blocking the subvocalizations when you're reading stuff. That's whenever you're like saying the words as you read it to yourself. We can only speak so fast, and so we're limiting how fast we can read if we do that. So practicing that, doing some breathing techniques while you're doing that. I know some people say they count like 1, 2, 3, and that's where they're looking at the sentence, and that tries to stop that. But that's kind of a constant battle. But all of those things, if you can speed up your reading, like we can learn more, we can read more books, we can, study faster, you can get more done. So I do think that's kind of a superpower in today's environment where we've got so much information. How do we get all of that information in? So I've really enjoyed that. Breath by James Nestor. I'm not familiar with that one, Christy. I'm gonna have to check that one out. I am a big fan of The Oxygen Advantage. For those of y'all, we were talking about breathing earlier. The Oxygen Advantage is a really, really good book that goes into a lot of the effects from us mouth breathing today. And he gives some wonderful suggestions about how to correct some of that stuff. So check that one out if y'all are interested in breathing, if you're interested in breathing. I hope you are. But if you're interested in those things, he's got a lot of breathing techniques and stuff in there. So, beautiful. Thank you again. I hope that was some helpful information. I am so appreciative of everyone who's sending us text messages, who's reaching out. I really appreciate all the feedback that y'all are giving and y'all watching and commenting and talking to us. I hope this is some good information for you. If you have questions about these things, reach out to me, send the office a message, give us a call. The office number is 337-504-5144. Send us an email, info@acadianapain.com. Send us a text message to our text platform if you have questions or comments or topics you want to discuss on here, 801-691-7582. Lisa, you are so welcome. Kelly, you are welcome. Thank you for joining us. I hope everyone has a great day. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe and have fun, laugh a little bit. Do that like one thing to get a little healthier today. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.